Hello, this is Anastasia, and today's video is a little bit different because it's not about languages, it's about Germany. Specifically, why I decided to leave Germany. Let's get something straight right away. A lot of what I'm going to say in this video is subjective and based on my personal experience, so you might disagree with me, and that's okay. My goal is to share my personal experience, and as someone who has lived in 5 countries already, I've got some comparisons to make. Let me start with a bit of a context here. I've actually moved to Germany twice. The first time was just for 3 months as part of a work and travel program, and at that time I was enchanted by Germany. I was so sad when I had to leave because I absolutely fallen in love with the country. There is so much to admire. The architecture, the buildings, like the cities and the small towns, the nature, the Christmas markets are just on another level. The vibe they create there is truly magical. During my first visit, I hadn't spent so much time abroad previously, so everything felt just new and exciting for me. Plus, lots of things were taken care of for me. My employer handled all the paperwork and the accommodation, so I was sharing an apartment with 2 other girls from Ukraine, and we got along really well, so I didn't have to worry about socialization a lot and making friends. And yeah, I was working at Burger King, which wasn't so thrilling, but my free time was filled with exploration and with adventures. I visited many towns around Hamburg, went to coffee shops, to museums, to a lot of cool places, and just soaked in the culture. And when I was leaving, I promised myself that one day I would move back here. So it was back in 2019, and now let's fast forward to 2 years ago. I made the big decision to move to Germany and to find a job there, the apartment, and just build my life there. Post. And while Germany still remained very beautiful, my experience this time around was absolutely different. It felt like every obstacle was telling me, you're not welcome here. I'm not gonna dive deep into every detail because it's probably not gonna be relevant for you, but I still want to highlight a few challenges I faced, which might be useful to consider before moving to Germany. And the first one I want to discuss here is, of course, bureaucracy. Yes, German bureaucracy is famous and for good reason. But when I've heard about it, I thought well, it's obvious you are going to another country, you are going to have to do some paperwork. It's okay, it's fine. I don't mind. But I couldn't even imagine how much paperwork I would have to do. Apart from what's really necessary, there are a lot of unnecessarily complicated things in my opinion. For example, I had to reset my PIN code for the bank card, and I couldn't do it online or over the phone. I couldn't do it at the nearest bank branch. I had to go to the branch where I opened the account, which is a challenge if you moved elsewhere, which was my case. And still, you don't get a new PIN code in the branch. You have to go back home and wait for a couple more days for a letter to arrive, and only then you receive a new PIN code from your bank card. Until then, you just can't use your card. This is just one example, so something that would usually take me 5 minutes or a day maximum would take me a week in Germany, which is unnecessarily complicated in my opinion. And a lot of processes, they are paper based, and it makes you keep countless documents, and you can't go places whenever you want and wait in the queue and get a consultation or something. You have to make an appointment, ein Termin, and you have to take a day off your work to come to this appointment and lose your money, so that's not really good. In other countries I've lived in, you could usually solve issues like that and others online or with a quick visit to a single office. In Germany that's not the case, and in my opinion it's really slow and time consuming, and it made me feel kind of depressed a lot of times because I value my time a lot and I like to be productive, and spending time this way for something that is extremely slow and complicated, yeah, it made me a little bit depressed and sad that I have to spend so much time for this instead of doing something much better with my time. I guess you get used to it, or maybe if you've lived in Germany your whole life, you're used to it and it's not an issue for you. But if you've lived somewhere else where you usually would solve things like quickly, it would be really hard. And I felt like I don't want to get used to it. So bureaucracy is real. It's quite old-fashioned. I really don't get it, like why they don't use technologies in order to solve all of these things with bureaucracy. But yeah, you just have to be prepared for that. And if you don't mind doing all of that paperwork, or it's hard to find people who like that, but yeah, you just have to be ready for that. The next thing I've had a negative experience with is migration office or Ausländerbehörde. This is a challenging aspect of moving to Germany for many foreigners from what I've seen on YouTube and what I read online. But yeah, it can vary depending on the region, on the staff. However, my experience was quite frustrating. Let me share a story with you here. As soon as I came to Germany, I was working really hard in order to secure a job and an apartment. And you have to go to the migration office all the time to tell them about every step you take. But okay, they told me, of course, you can find a job, you can find the apartment, you can go and do that. That's great. And as soon as I found a job and apartment, I went to the migration office to tell them about that I'm going to move because this place is closer to my work. And they said, no, you cannot do that. And I'm like, why? And they said, oh, this apartment is not in this region and you're registered in this region. So, and it's just one river, that divides the two regions. And I had to like go one station further to my apartment. And they say, you can't live there. And I was like, okay, these are very weird rules, but like, okay, I found a job. I have just 1 week before I have to start, and I cannot go to my work from this place where I live now. It's too far away. I would like have to not sleep in order to do that. And they were like, well, that's not our problem. You can't live somewhere else. You are not in Ukraine, like where you can move whenever you want. You have to live here in this region. I was so upset, like I was shocked, and I called my landlord, potential landlord, and he said like, what, like you can do that, of course, you just have to send a letter to our migration office and ask them to re-register you, kind of. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to my migration office again and ask them, hey, can I send a letter to that office so that they re-register me? And she was like, oh yeah, yeah, you can do that, but it's going to take time. They maybe will not reply to you soon. And I'm like, well, but it's possible, and you didn't tell me about this option. And they were like, yeah, it's possible, but it's holidays time. It was a Christmas time, like everybody is working short hours. You will not get the reply in time. I'm like, I still want to try. Like, why are you telling me that I'm not going to be successful in this if that's just your opinion? It's not like how it works. So she was like, okay, send the letter. You can do it by yourself at home. And okay, I went home, I sent the letter, I received a positive reply, but unfortunately, I lost my apartment because my landlord had to leave after the New Year's, and he said like, yeah, send them the letter. I hope you receive the reply, but I'm also going to look for other people because I have to secure myself, and that's understandable. I have no problems with that. I understand him. He had to leave and he couldn't just keep the apartment in case they reply to me. But yeah, all of that could have been avoided if the lady in the migration office just told me right away, like, you can send a letter so that they will register you and you can move, which was possible from the beginning. But she made it look so complicated and impossible for me. And yeah, because of that, I lost the apartment, and I had just a few days before I had to start my job. I had to find a new apartment during this time, like around a week. And yeah, I found a new apartment, but it's quite a challenge in Germany to find an apartment. And when you have so little time, I had to just take what was available, and it was not the best option. The apartment I found previously was good, perfect for me, and this one was like a basement level studio for 1,100 euros in a small town, but I didn't have a choice. Like, yeah, let's move to this point actually, the next point, the rent in Germany. It's incredibly high. especially in larger cities. Like the apartment I found was in a smaller town near Frankfurt. But yeah, if you are living alone, it's like very hard to live in your own apartment. You would have to share with somebody else because it's quite expensive. Because I was with my partner, we could afford an apartment for ourselves. But if I was alone, I wouldn't be able to afford this apartment for such a high price. And apart from the price, the apartments are usually rented empty, like you don't get anything inside an apartment, even the kitchen, which is like mind-blowing for me. Like, why would people rent empty apartments? If you want a kitchen, you have to install it yourself or you have to buy it from the previous owner, and you have to buy all the furniture. And for people who move quite often, this is like not an option. There are furnished apartments available, of course, but they're significantly higher in cost. And it's just, I don't know, like in other countries I've lived in, all the apartments are always rented furnished. And I know there are other countries apart from Germany where the apartments are rented empty, but for me it doesn't make much sense, because if person comes to your country to live, for example, for 1 year, like it doesn't make sense to this person to buy the furniture and they have no choice but pay a very high price for the rent. It's a lot of money to buy everything, so you either buy everything for an empty apartment or you rent a more expensive apartment, which sounds reasonable, but if you look at the prices, it's not really reasonable. It's too expensive. A reasonable price, in my opinion, is when the person works somewhere. Okay, maybe not with the minimal wage, but the average person. Okay, the person works somewhere and they can afford to rent this apartment. This is a reasonable price, but when an average person cannot afford that, that's not reasonable in my opinion again. Okay, let's discuss the next thing, which is healthcare. Germany is well known for its high quality healthcare system, but accessing it can be a challenge. First of all, you have to have medical insurance in Germany, whether you're working or not, which is great. I think it's wonderful. But let me again share a story with you, not a pleasant one. Shortly after I arrived in Germany, I got food poisoned, or I know I was severely ill, and I felt so terrible. I couldn't leave my bed, and I had to leave my bed to walk to bathroom. I'm sorry, I had to walk to my bathroom and back to my bed quite often, and I would faint on my way, although it's like 10 steps, because of how little energy I had. Like, I don't know what was happening. I felt like I was dying, literally. Like, I've never felt that bad in my life. And we called ambulance and they refused to come because they said as long as I can speak and I'm conscious and I can walk, I should come to the hospital myself, which like wasn't possible in my condition because I couldn't leave my bed, as I said. But okay, they refused to come. They said I had to come to the hospital myself, which was the first shock for me, because I guess I didn't have to call the ambulance in any other countries where I lived, but I had to do it in Ukraine. And if you feel that bad, even not that bad, just if you feel bad and you feel like you need help, medical help, the ambulance would come and help you. So that was an emergency and we didn't receive any help. And again, I'm so blessed and grateful that my partner was with me and he took care of me, because if I was alone at that time, I don't know, and I don't want to think about what could happen. But for non-emergencies, it's also quite common to wait months before you can see the doctor, which also doesn't make sense in my opinion, because if something disturbs you, if you feel bad, I don't know, if you think something is going on with you, it's always a good idea to see the doctor as soon as possible. And if it's nothing serious, you just make sure it's okay and you are, at least you're stress free and you don't have to worry about it. Or if there is something serious, you can treat it early on and not wait until it develops into something even more serious within few months until you can see the doctor. So this doesn't make sense to me again, and I really didn't want to stay somewhere where I wouldn't have an easy access to the doctor whenever I needed that. Now let's move to my next point, which is the language, the German language. Now don't get me wrong, I love German. I I mean, I'm learning German. Even though I left Germany, I keep learning it. I don't want to lose my skills. I love how it sounds. I want to use it in the future. So I love it. And I understand the importance of learning the local language. However, a little openness and flexibility from people in Germany could make the experience for newcomers in Germany a little bit more inclusive if they like used English a little bit more. I mean, I'm not saying that people in Germany have to learn English in order to talk to people who come there. No. And I guess it's hard to disagree with the fact that Germany is a very international and diverse country today. There are many people from different countries coming to live, to work, to travel in Germany. And I mean, a lot of people do speak English. However, for some reason, they don't want to use it, and they show to foreigners that we don't want to speak to you in English. You have to speak German. Wir sind in Deutschland. Sprechen Sie Deutsch. That's something I encountered at my job a lot because I found a job where German was not required actually, although I spoke some German. I worked as a hotel receptionist, but it was an airport hotel, so it's quite international, and English was a priority. German was a plus there. And I had some colleagues who didn't speak German at all yet, because when you come to a new country, it takes time to learn a new language. And for some people, it's quite challenging. Yeah, it's hard for them to learn languages. For some people, it's easier. For some people, it takes longer. So, I don't know, that's just common sense. I would say that it's hard for people to learn German, and German is not an easy language, let's be honest. So, when you force them to speak German when they are already trying and they are already learning it, it doesn't motivate at all and it makes them sad, let's say. You don't have to speak English, but if you do, please help people to feel more welcomed and to feel a little bit better. I mean, the difference is in any other country I lived in, if people speak English, they will be happy to speak English to you and make your life a little bit easier and to practice their own English also. If they don't speak English or they speak English a little bit, they will still try and speak English to you to help you because you are a foreigner here and they want you to feel welcomed and they want to help you again. And they would try to use, I don't know, the language of gestures, the translator, whatever, just to help you. And in Germany, if you don't speak German, they don't care about helping you because it's your problem. Speak German, you're in Germany. However, when German people come for vacation, for example, here in Croatia, everybody speaks German to them because a lot of people here speak German, but they don't speak Croatian, although they're in Croatia. That's the difference. The next thing I didn't quite like in Germany is the weather. It's quite unpredictable and unpleasant. That's all I got to say actually, but I guess the amazing nature in Germany makes up for that. It's really beautiful. The next point I want to discuss is social norms and behaviors. This is a subjective point again, but I've encountered some cultural differences that surprised me. In some places, for example, a train station, you can see like it's dirty and it has very strong odors of you can guess of what, and there are visible homelessness, like homeless people, and you feel very uncomfortable there. For example, the Frankfurt train station. I'll be honest, I've never seen something like that in anywhere in the world on other train station. The smell and the amount of homeless people, and yeah, maybe there are, but at least personally, that's something I've never seen before. And inside the trains, I also noticed the behaviors like people putting their feet on the seats. I even have a picture, and like people eating in front of you in kind of inappropriate way. For example, a man sat next to me and he was eating the yogurt with his finger. And some people just stare at you in a very weird way. It's very uncomfortable to be there. And at least as a woman, I feel quite vulnerable when I see things like that around. Although Germany is considered a safe country, for some reason I didn't feel safe. when I looked around. But yeah, let's discuss the last point here is just general mood and lifestyle. This point is also purely my observation, but I noticed some rigidity in daily life. Many people seemed really tied to routines, to their jobs, to long-term plans, and while it's not inherently bad, lifestyle is something everybody chooses for themselves. I really missed some spontaneity, some ambition, some lightheartedness, this enjoying the life. My observation, my impression of when I looked at the people there, I felt like people were tired, unhappy, and I don't know, this this was kind of negative, lots of negativity around. And for example, in Croatia, if you come here, like what I see is people happy, although they are not super rich, and I don't know, they just go to work and do their jobs, and yeah, they're smiling at you, drinking coffee in the middle of the day, talking to their friends, laughing, and just enjoying their lives, everyday life. And in Germany, I felt like people come to work, they do their work because they have to do this work, and many people work for many years at the same position. Then they come home, they have to do all of this paper stuff, and there's so little space to enjoy your life. At least what I felt. That's what I felt. I believe there are a lot of people in Germany who enjoy their life, but I didn't see them a lot. By the way, if you're curious, I'd love to make a video about why I chose Croatia and why I decided to live here. There are a lot of things to talk about too, so let me know if you're interested. I'd love to make a video about that. But yeah, this is the kind of a mood I felt in Germany. I really hope that I am wrong and that people are happy and are enjoying their life there. It's just what I felt, and I hope it's just my experience. Yeah, I really think that Germany is an incredibly beautiful country. Like, whether it's a small town or a big city, it's gorgeous, it's so charming, it's really beautiful. The nature and the architecture, everything is amazing. And I believe that it's a good country for some people and just a bad country for others. For example, I think it's a very good country for people who need some social support from the government, because Germany really cares about that, in my opinion. I didn't need any support from the government, so it wasn't the thing to consider for me. I also think that if you want to build a career, it's a good country to do that, because there are a lot of opportunities. You can work anywhere and there are lots of job openings. So if you really want something, if you really try hard, you will find a job and you will build your career there. But yeah, I don't really think there are good and bad countries. I think there are places that are right for you and places that are not right for you. And thanks God, we live in the 21st century when we can travel, we can choose where we feel our best and where we feel happy. And I hope my video provides some food for thought, but in case you are thinking of going to Germany and building your life there, you should definitely do it, because maybe for you it's gonna be a perfect country. And to finalize my video, I just want to say thank you to Germany for everything I had there, for my experience and for the lessons I've learned. This country wasn't for me for life, but I really loved this country as a place to visit. In terms of tourism, it has so much to offer too, and there are so many things to explore. So I still learn German language. I will keep learning it because I love it too, and I'm planning to visit it in the future and other German-speaking countries. And although it wasn't the right country for me to live there, I don't want to do any generalizations, and I believe that this country is good for somebody else. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like it and to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts. I would really be interested to know more about other people's experience. In this video, I just shared my honest experience and opinions, and I hope you can share yours too. So thank you so much again. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!